As I got here today, I met a couple of fellows out of the entrance, and we were talking about how dry it is. And everybody had theirs drier than the rest of us. But I learned something. I was told when it rained 40 days and 40 nights, Wellsville got a half inch. Pastor Dan emailed me about 3 weeks ago wanting to know if I could fill in, and I did like you did. Yes, I'll do it. And then I learned what I had to do. And a week and a half ago, I was thinking to myself, what were you thinking? The word prayer has theology written all over it, and I'm not a theologian. And then I rationalize. I've known Pastor Bailey for a long time. I respect him, the bright guy, and what he had figured to make me, I'm thinking this, to make myself feel good, get charged up. You know, it might not hurt, do any harm for you to hear about prayer from a layperson. And that's what we're going to do today. Now the problem is this. Prayer could easily be a 4 or 5 Sunday series. What is prayer? Why pray? How do you pray? When do you pray? What about unanswered prayers? The meaning of it. We could go on and on. The problem is, well, one day. I thought I would begin with a definition so we're all on the same page. It's pretty simple. Dictionary definition of prayer. A devout petition to God or another object of worship. 2, a communication with God or with another object of worship. I couldn't help but notice in our centering prayer today, fulfill now, O Lord, our desires and petitions. But it also says, as best be for us. Not our will, but God's will be done. When we talk about prayer, we're really talking about incessory prayer. Incessory prayer is prayer in which we are asking for God for an intervention, to intervene with something. And we do that. We do it in church. We've got a prayer list. We do it all the time. We went to church with a couple we liked. They were good workers in the church. And all of a sudden they're not going to church anymore. And we saw them somewhere. And we told them, hey, we've been missing you at church. And the lady said, you go to church and you pray, help me, help me, help me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can do that at home. I don't need to go to church for that. Haven't seen them since. I hope they found another church. But you know, she may have a point. Aren't we guilty of that? I am. And I'm going through a pretty tough time right now. with a lifelong friend. We grew up together, we played athletics together, we were in high school together, same class, went to college together, roomed together, worked same fraternity, were in business together for a short while. And he has Alzheimer's. And it's bad. And he's always such a clean-cut, all-American type guy, always well-groomed, immaculate hygiene. And I was taking him to the doctor, hadn't been diagnosed yet. And I'd take him to lunch, he wasn't eating anything. And he'd eat a couple bites and that would be it. And alcohol became involved, and he wasn't an alcoholic. Or a drinker. Alcohol, I don't know why, but it got involved. And he was full, he was filthy. And I went out. I couldn't go see him anymore. And I talked to some other friends, and they had the same reaction. But I'm praying for him every day. Call out his name in church on Sunday. But what am I doing? I needed to reassess that. I talked to Pastor Bailey and explained to him my dilemma. And it's my dilemma. A week ago Thursday. A week ago Friday. I went to see him. Knew me. Didn't know what was going on. For 2 or 3 years back, but he remembered high school, and we had a great talk about high school. And I left, and I don't know whether, well, it is so bad that I asked him, how are you feeling? And he says, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to get to go home tomorrow. He's not able to go home. But I left, and I don't know whether he felt better or not. I know he did. But how often do we do that? We're praying for somebody. We ask God to do it. What are we doing? Do we have responsibilities other than asking God to intervene? I think we do. We're the same way in church, our schools, our communities, our service organization. There is a problem that needs a solution, and it needs some money. And we're pretty darn good about writing a check. But the money doesn't get it done. Somebody's got to do it. That's like asking God, get old Chuck feeling better. What are you doing? Same thing. I had a career in athletics. And praying in sports always has bothered me. For the life of me, I don't see the good Lord caring whether KU beats MU. Nor K-State and KU. It's a game. Now, you don't see it as much now as you did when I was coaching because of the anti-war on Christianity will return. But football teams used to pray out in the middle of the field. Basketball teams would bow and pray right before the tip-off. And I attended a clinic probably 35 years ago. Then there was a national coach speaking. University of Texas. And he says, you know what? There's 400 coaches in there. You know what? I think those coaches that have their teams pray out in the middle of the field, I think they ought to have to be in church on Sunday. And of course the place is erupted. But he had a point. Hey, could we get off the show stuff? Good point. Know a coach very well. Tremendous guy, tremendous coach. Good Methodist, good long-time Methodist Sunday school teacher. His teams always prayed with you, okay? And he got to the point to where he had coached them and led them. He asked the players to give the pregame prayer. And he taught, after he started that, and then you had a choice. You didn't have to do it. I'm sure under him, 99% did. But anyhow, he had a young sophomore that was a pretty good basketball player and was going to be a very good basketball player. And so he asked him if he would give the pregame prayer the day before. And he agreed to do it. And Coach told me that the prayer went like this. Dear God, help us to play our very best. God help so-and-so, the team that we're playing, to play their very best. But may our very best be a little bit better. I'm sure God here. Prayer is about communication with God. And communication is a two-way street. And I can speak from personal experience. Okay? Most of the time we're busy talking. We don't spend any, or at least enough time, listening. Communication goes both ways. Now we're told in the Bible how to pray. We said the Lord's Prayer together. That's in the Gospels. They're not all alike, but they say the same thing. I'm going to read you a couple passages from Matthew. And we're now not only giving suggestions of how to pray, but how not to pray. That'd be important too, wouldn't it? Let's see what we have. This is in Matthew chapter 6. When you pray, don't be like those show-offs who love to stand up and pray in the meeting places and on the street corners. They do this just to look good. I can assure you they have already received their reward. When you pray, go into a room alone and close the door. Pray to your Father in private. He knows what is done in private, and he will reward you. When you pray, don't talk on and on. People who don't, that's what people who don't know God do. They think God likes to hear long prayers. Don't be like them. Your Father knows what you need before you ask. Now he said two things here. Communication. Go into a room and close the door. Listen. Don't give long prayers. He's telling us, Matthew is telling us to listen. Ask, search, and knock. You've all heard. Ask and you will receive. Search and you will find. Knock and the door will be open for you. Everyone who asks will receive. Everyone who searches will find. And the door will be open for everyone who knocks. Would any of you give your hungry child a stone if the child asks for some bread? Would you give your child a snake if the child asks for a fish? As bad as you are, you still know how to give good gifts to your children. But your Heavenly Father is even more ready to give good things to people who ask. Yeah, we ought to ask. I believe in miracles. I grew up in a time when my mother lost more sleep over whether or not her sons were going to contact polio. We did. Fortunately. Then a guy by the name of Dr. Jonas Salk came around and gave us a vaccine, and polio is almost non-existent. I think that's a miracle. Our cancer research, we're curing some forms of cancer that we're able to cure. We're heading in the right direction some other, and our treatment is better than it's ever been. That's a miracle. HIV. A person tested positive today for HIV, life expectancy is 4 times greater than it was 25 years ago. That's a miracle. We had a miracle 10 days ago. We put a Land Rover on Mars. 325 million miles away. Took 9 months to get there. Then you got to land it, and there's all kinds of problems. They built, the thing weighed a ton. The size of a car. The moon rover would have been like a motor scooter compared to this thing. They had to land it. They developed the world's largest parachute. But then you had the problem as it's coming down of recovering the Land Rover. So they had to get it down. Then it drops down on a chain, and then they had rockets take the parachute up. Then all this is happening and goes off without a hitch. But we didn't know it. It took 13 minutes for the information to get back to Earth. It didn't take 13 minutes to land the thing. Whatever was going to happen has already happened. We're not going to watch it land. We're going to watch the results of the landing. 400 scientists worked on that project. 300 engineers. It's a miracle. But I think that's where miracles come from. I think miracles come from God through us. Whenever we do God's will, great things happen. Our pastor in Lewisburg, she's been there, she's in her 8th year, and I've heard her say this, 50, maybe 100 times, and I'm not exaggerating. She does a great job with it. Prayer time, we talk about prayer. And she acknowledges to God. must you answer our prayers? Yes, no, and not yet. And I think that's pretty good. Our problem is, how do we interpret not yet? We interpret that as a no. And that's not it at all. Our problem is, this is not only what we want, this is when we want it. And if it doesn't happen then it was a no. Not true. There are endless instances in which this finally happens. On his time, not ours. One of the reasons back to the miracle thing. We're all familiar of a car accident in which there's 4 people in it, and 3 people are killed and one's not. Easy for us to say it's a miracle so-and-so thing. That's perhaps, maybe. But the world operates around nature's law, and God gave us nature's law. We don't fully understand nature's law, but we understand some of it. And I could say for this car accident, what seat were they sitting in that would have made it altogether different for them? What part of the car was the collision? Did it flip? If so, what part of it did it land on? Was this person asleep? Completely relaxed, which they say really helps. And that's a little bit difficult to do when you're awake and seeing it about to happen. Did all the seatbelts hold? How about the airbags? We don't know. We'll find out about those, won't we? We can check those and we'll know about that. But it is possible that there's something that happened that we cannot explain by our understanding of God's law, nature's law. That's possible. Do I think those things happen? Yes, I do. But I'm going to repeat, most of the miracles that we call miracles, God has provided, but He's provided it through us. The people they put in charge of the planet over all the animals, the birds and the fish. This is where the miracles happen. Now, we get prayer to get us in the right position that this could happen. Another reason we worry about unanswered prayers is God gave us a thing called free will. And I really have a difficult time. If I prayed for you to have to do something that would benefit me, I have a difficult time seeing God interfering with your free will in order to satisfy me. I do. Let me give you a for instance. It's not real, but it sure could be. And you know of instances where this is close. Grandfather went to KU, raised a son, they sent him to KU. Son meets girl at KU, they get married, they have 3 kids. Offspring 1 goes to KU, offspring 2 goes to KU, offspring 3 decides to go to K-State. Now, Mom and Dad are both praying that he will see the light and go to KU. But in order to do that, God would have to interfere with offspring 3 free will. Ain't gonna happen. I know how to get him to KU though. You bring him in and hey son, I know you want to go to college. get a good education, and I'm all for it. Just remember, you can go anywhere you want to. I'm going to pay for it if you go to KU. And if you don't want to be that brutal, I can still get you there, and it's called free will. Offspring tree falls in love.